Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We talked about this. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, I find that when we plan for things ahead of time and then watch them ultimately unfold, it's a lot easier to theoretically talk about future dips in the market, and to actually live through it is something completely different, okay? Because at the time, when we are trading at lower prices, the idea of saying, oh, well, what if Bitcoin goes to 50K and then goes back down to 42K or something like that, it just seems somewhat out there, right? Like, yeah, we can imagine that, but then if it actually happens, no one really is super excited about it. But I just wanted to show you guys how our perception of the market can really be affected by what's going on that week rather than looking at the bigger picture, okay? So I'm just gonna play a few clips and it's just to show how we talked about this being honestly the most bullish path, right? Even though it might sound weird, but just take a listen really quick. Here is, and very, very hypothetically, let's assume, most bullish scenario, right? Well, I guess most bullish scenario that's realistic, because some people will say the most bullish scenario we just go straight up and we don't look back, right? But let's say the most bullish scenario that's realistic is we go up, maybe we go up to 50K or something, I don't know, and we come down and we test the 20 week, right? And then, we come back up and maybe we put in a new high. Okay, so this is one example where we said, all right guys, the most bullish scenario that's realistic is actually testing the bull market support band. It's actually testing either the 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, right? This is what we said. The more unrealistic price prediction, which is what a lot of other people will give you, is just to say, we'll go straight up, right? We don't talk about pullbacks, right? And if a pullback happens, it's market manipulation or some BS like that, and so on and so forth, right? It's sort of like all the different analysts who'll just tell you only reasons why Bitcoin should ever go up. They'll never tell you, hey, maybe it can actually pull back a little bit, and that's not always a bad thing, right? That's not always a bad thing. Here's one example. We talked about it when Bitcoin was at 39K. We said, hey guys, goes to 50K potentially. We actually went above 50K, and then maybe back down to the bull market support band. Okay, and then if we hold it as support, we have clear skies ahead. Okay, we have clear skies ahead. Here's another example. Would be Bitcoin, so one possible path for say like a second leg of the bull market would be Bitcoin gets above the 20-week in August and then maybe comes back down to hold it as support in September. And then that would still be in line with what we've seen happen. That's what happened last year. We didn't go above it in August, but we were up. You guys get the idea, right? And then we also talked about, how September, historically speaking, isn't the best month for Bitcoin. Now, there could be some recency bias there because it has happened over the last 4 years, but if you go back to 2016, we actually had a month where we went up, and 2015, we had a month where we, in fact, went up, just slightly. 2014 was really bad, 2011 was really bad, but for the most part, September has not been the best month, historically speaking, okay? So the idea that, a pullback in September because it's not a great month, or the idea of going back to test the bull market support band, these are not novel concepts, right? And this is what's always happened for Bitcoin. The idea that we just go straight up without having any type of test would be somewhat new, in fact, okay? So let's keep that in mind. I think that people get very worked up over what is happening this week, not over the macro trend in the market, okay? So what I wanna look at now is we've had a test of the 20-week, have we not? On some exchanges, we went down to the 20-week, in fact. If we go, let's say we go look at this exchange here, we had a wick right down to the 20-week moving average. Some exchanges, it was a little bit higher, but it was around the bull market support band. I think most every exchange was either at the 20-week or slightly above the 20-week, which is where we saw at least an initial bounce, okay? Now, let's first hone in on the 20-week. Right now, it is trading. The 20-week SMA is at 42K. It's at 42K, which actually happens to be the prior local top that we had in January of 2021. You can see it's right at 42K. The 21-week EMA is in fact at 43K. So the 42 to 43K range is in fact where we would ideally like to hold the line, okay? And we've already tested it. So, you know, if from here we move up, well then technically speaking, we had a test of the bull market support band and it happened in September. Technically speaking. Now, ideally speaking, it would be nice to test it for a little bit longer. Because I find that the longer we test these things, ultimately the higher we can fly. This one was like a 6-week test, and it was a little bit, it was grueling. A lot of people calling for lower prices, you know, for Bitcoin to go much lower. And, you know, I mean, it's not that hard to imagine that we could have broken down below it and kicked the can down the road. And if it had happened that way, then that's what would have happened. I mean, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Now, to talk about another thing. Back in May, I told everyone, I said, hey, we are ahead of schedule, right? Bitcoin is too far ahead of schedule. We need a pullback. We need a lull in the market. And I said a 3 to 6 month lull. So far, we had 3 months, and I defined it by being below the 20-week moving average, right? We've had 3 months so far. Do we need 3 more months? I don't think we have to have 3 more months, but I'm not going to say that we can't have 3 more months. I said 3 to 6 months. We've had 3 months so far. I don't know at this point. I feel like we are below the prior ROIs from prior market cycles, whether you measure it from the halving or the market cycle bottom. You know, there's a lot of indicators that suggest, I think, that the lull could be over around the bull market support band. Or I should say the summer lull is over because now we're above it, but it could indicate that we might actually hold this as support. And if we do, then the 20-week is normally the best time to buy in a bull market, right? Because it tends to hold the 20-week moving average as support. If we don't hold it as support, okay, we have to discuss this because, you know, as I said, 3 to 6 months, we've had 3 months so far. If we need 3 more months and we come back down here, if we come back down to lower than the bull market support band, then my best guess is just 3 more months. Okay, that would be my best guess. And we've seen these types of moves before, right? I mean, like here's a good example of us getting above it, and then we failed to hold it as support. So right, we had this lull here, and then we had a quicker one. This was a huge opportunity. Okay, so if that happens, again, that's probably when most people are going to be running for the hills if that happens. But that's actually probably the best opportunity you'll ever get in Bitcoin when it does something like that. So I would say if we hold it, then we have clear skies ahead. If we don't, probably just 3 more months, and then we should be off to the races. I would like to draw your attention to another moving average that I also think we have to at least discuss because it could leave those waiting for the 20-week, you know, it could leave you waiting a long time potentially. I would like to see us go back to the 20-week and spend some time there and really have Bitcoin show that we can hold the line at 42. Okay, I mean, right, isn't 42 the answer to everything anyways? The bull market support band, obviously 42K or so, but there's also the 8-week. And we have to at least discuss it because the 8-week is in fact where we held as support during the last leg. We held it as support here, we held it as support here, and here, and then here. And then once we broke it, it meant we were gonna break the bull market support band, right? And the only reason we speculated about that, we said, okay, if the 8-week breaks, we could be too far gone here. Why? Well, if you go back to say, all the way back to 2013, it was in fact when the 8-week broke, let's see, it was when the 8-week broke here when we actually had a weekly close below the bull market support band as well. But then we were more or less above the 8-week for the entirety of the cycle, except for that brief period over there. So Those who try to get fancy and time the market tends to not work out. Dynamically dollar cost averaging, or just dollar cost averaging if you prefer, it's probably the best way to go. Right now, I think one area to keep an eye out for would be the 8-week. If we hold the line at the 8-week moving average on the weekly time frame, which is now 45.2K, then that could be a really strong indication that we are in another leg like this, and that this is just the first pullback. If we actually go back to the bull market support band and grind out there for a while, then that will be a huge test for the medium-term outlook on the market, okay? Because if we hold it, then again, we have clear skies ahead going into hopefully the next leg. If we don't hold it, my guess is 3 more months, and then we should be able, I would guess within another 3 months, if we don't hold it, we should be able to muster up the strength to hold it next time. This is a big test, so I would say buckle up. Let's see if we hold the line, and if we do, then these are the dues you're paying for hopefully the gains you'll see later on. And this will also be the time where people will tell you, if it does hold as support, they'll probably be like, oh, you're so lucky. Remember, you're never lucky, right? It's either calculated, it's a calculated risk. It either pays off or it doesn't. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Remember, we do no paid promotions, no affiliate links here. We don't even have AdSense turned on. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. If you want to know how I'm navigating the markets, we do have the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe at the very least. Click the bell icon to turn on notifications, and I will see you next time.